All right, so we're here with Jon Sloan Jr., who is the assistant director, background designer, and storyboard artist in the project at the 1130. John, how are you doing?
Hey, what's going on, Sean? Also known as Issa Long Arts. I'm doing fabulous right now. It's been such a busy couple of weeks, but after you posted that project, I'm not gonna lie, that really made me feel excited to work on more art stuff. Hopefully in the
Thank
future.
you. Yeah, I think it's just like the big thing was like finished, not perfect. Like getting that final product out there, like that's great.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think again the amount of camaraderie we had on the team, especially since we were like I'd say five, six people who different parts of the world barely know each other at all, was part of Ethan
Mhm.
Becker's class, really decided, hey, we're gonna just go in and just expand. We're gonna go in, we're just gonna take what Ethan told us and just go out there in the world and do make some wonderful creative story driven art.
Yeah, and make it. And then he like posted that thing on Instagram. You go, what?
I know. I was like, dude, he senpai noticed us.
Yeah, like he mentioned this the story mention was great.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, no, I appreciate it though. But it was an honor, and I'm ready to work, ready to hop on and get on more projects.
Yeah, so I'm just here to ask you a few questions. So, just to start off, like, what or who are your artistic inspirations and why?
Well, I'd say a lot of my artistic inspirations tend to vary based off certain times of my life. But I will tell you, it did get my start. I didn't get funny enough. I didn't get my start with an animation more per se. I did like a lot of everything's like video games more often, and I'd say concept art in video games, especially for the games I like, was very interesting to see like how a certain piece of art can translate to final. And I thought, oh hey, I wanted to do that. That so
Hmm.
funny enough, a lot of my style was more like anime driven. I'd want to say Tetsuya Nomura's style with Kingdom Hearts and even some of the Castlevania games were dope, like Ayumi Kojima's more eminent aesthetic. And then I really got into a lot of pinup girl art for some reason. And I'm not gonna lie, the classic. Oh my gosh,
Or
the
or like Sam does art stuff where it's like,
yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, as much as that's like kind of fun, it gets a little old. And now I think my style is more broadened with you guys'
Hmm.
stuff. Like I think with adult animation, especially since working on this project, like close, like you said you wanted similar to Close Enough. I'm like, I don't really like that style works, and it works for that specific audience. But for me personally, I like that more anime realistic style. But
Hmm.
I'd say as far as art inspirations currently, so far I'm really digging this one artist. His name is David Lou D. Sluggy, and he's like a retro anime artist that I really like because he kind of like keeps that aesthetic alive, and it makes it feel nostalgic in a way because obviously I think a lot of what happened back then tends to kind of get lost in translation now, and sometimes it's the that classic saying of what's old is new again kind of deal. So yeah.
Cool. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think like anime is really interesting. The thing I found with anime is like they really will sometimes break the character proportions and like really experiment. And that's what I like doing in this project is like having the characters be expressive and like, they're not always on model. But I think like the point is like to really have that expression come out.
Of course. Yeah, I think especially since we were trained by Ethan Becker, especially with his latest video and that dead face one. That one was actually interesting because a lot of the pinup artists that you kind of like are those ones, they tend to kind of have that like same face or a little cracked smile here, but it's not like anything that would push the character on who the character is, if that
I
makes sense.
find with Dead Face, I think a lot of it is like I think the artists sometimes they do it on purpose because it's like to have like a sort of quality of like, oh, this is like a pristine figure or this is like a ideal person where it's like their expression is blank because it's like you kind of fill in the gaps. But I think when you start putting in like really expressive things in characters and in illustrations, it it fleshes out the character, and instead of the character being like this fantasy thing, it's a real thing.
Yeah, and I think that's why I gravitated towards that realistic art style, because it's like something that could possibly exist, but it still feels like hyper realist, if it makes sense. So yeah,
Hmm,
but yeah,
cool.
that's pretty much it with that.
Awesome. Yeah, so I guess moving on, like what really excited you most about this project? Like, and what did you learn from it, and what skills got reinforced?
I'm not gonna lie though. I think prior to this project, I guess why I chose to get on it was because sometimes I myself don't have a lot of accountability. Sometimes when you have projects, they tend to go forever and ever and ever. You just don't see an end to it, and you make the scale go bigger. It's difficult, and the fact that having a project where I kind of had a bit of a director to follow and a boss per se and what he wanted to do, it felt very it felt very helpful to have, because even if it's like sometimes like having those accountability partners of like, oh hey, I don't feel like I could do it and I don't feel like doing it, but it's like, nah, man, you gotta get done. We have to get this done, and
Yeah,
that's that accountability that I think we all need, especially because I think we tend to get over ambitious. So that's what really helped me out, and that's what made me look forward to it, because it's like, I want to work in a group with like similar minded people. We all have different backgrounds, different things in art, and because your style is so very expressive and cartoony, I wanted to give it give it a shot to be like, all right, well, let me work in a style that I'm maybe not comfortable with, but this guy here, he's got the mad skills for it, and I can learn like what kind of animator or artist I could be using or drawing in this style, or making these very geometric proportional characters, if that makes sense.
oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think that was like one of the reasons too. That I was like, let's do this project because I was like, I need. I think a big tip out there, like I'll give, is when it comes to uh, doing art or doing anything in life, it's knowing yourself and knowing, am I like being honest with yourself? Like, am I going to be held accountable to my own goals, or do I need someone to hold me accountable? And it's okay if you need someone to hold you accountable. I mean, like a lot of my teachers and a lot of the people in my life, like I try to look to them and be like, hey, I don't want to disappoint my teachers. I don't want to disappoint my family. So I'm going to do this thing. And for me, it was like, oh, like I knew I needed to finish this because I had a group. I had like everyone else working with, and I was like, that like I want my group to see what we've done. So
Of course, yeah, and that's definitely a good attitude to have, is just that accountability that we all that you just need, just to get that extra push, because sometimes certain shots may not agree, and also to learn too that you're not going to always get your way, because I mean, for a lot of things, sometimes when you work on a project and your team around you, like again, whether it be an agreement or disagreement, like yeah, you may disagree on things, but if it's in the best interest of the project at the end of the day, I think it works, because a lot of the things, at least what I've learned too, is like, yeah, I don't want to, like, again, step on anyone's toes either, and that's one thing that's what the accountability is there for. It's just so that way, you get put in check, saying, hey man, just so you know, we're going that this is how the project's going to be run, and we'll take whatever idea you got. So like again, some ideas were obviously put on the cutting board, and that's one a better way to have that sense of camaraderie, because hey, look, not every idea, everyone probably goes back to their old projects and be like, man, I wish I could have did that, or oh, maybe this was happening. But hey, if the viewer enjoys the end result and the product, and you have a high like viewer rating for it, then nothing else matters. I mean, no matter
Mhm.
what changes could happen, honestly, and that's what I think was what I really learned a lot about myself was, yeah, delegation and acceptance mostly. So
Yeah, it's great. I mean, there's a lot in there for sure. And one thing I just wanted to credit you with is there were moments where I was like struggling to finish up certain boards, and you really picked up a lot of the weight when it came to storyboarding. Like I remember uh there were like some people who got pretty busy when it came to storyboarding, and I was like, I gave you the boards, you were on time every time. And then I could ask you like last minute, hey, can you do these boards? And you're like, yeah, sure. And then you whip them out, and it was like crazy. And like I just wanted to say I really appreciate you for that, and I really appreciate the work you put in.
thanks. I mean, I didn't really do much. I mean, I give most praise, especially for the actual grunt work, to you and Jock on the project a lot, and Rez, since you are like the big three people that kept me on time. I know towards the end, my apologies. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit behind the curve because I got busy, but
Mhm.
I'll at least tell you this. I think the fact that most of the boards like I contributed were in traditional pen and paper kind of proves that you really don't need all this expensive software to make good art or to get an idea across. Freaking penciling a thing on a napkin or like ketchup art for crying out loud. Like
I mean,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, I was just gonna say, like the big thing. I actually apologize. I think I was talking about Jacques, because that like I would send him boards and he would just like finish that up. So, but like one thing that was super helpful was like your edit for when she was walking in the store. Like that was huge because I didn't make a huge moment out of it. But like when you suggested like having these angles, like having this shot, like that really like helped the project like immensely, because it brought it to a different level. And like if you look at the boards or like the animatic, like right at the moment she walks in, like the music really cues up, and I thank you for that. Like that was like an amazing suggestion. And the other thing was like when she's walking out the store, that angle that you decided to do with the table being a little lower, like that was super helpful. It made the shot a lot more clear. And yeah.
Thank you. I mean, honestly, it was funny enough on your Discord. The first board when I first saw your storyboard compared to the other group projects people were putting together, I was like, I feel like we can get this done within less than a month because your scope was very reasonable and realistic. And when I
Mm.
first watched your boards, it definitely like obviously it obviously like every project it needs a lot of work. There's only an amount of time you can do for one person. And I think I remember in the board I saw that shot of him looking and then the girl just suddenly appeared. I'm not gonna lie, I thought, I know you want to make this a big moment because he's seeing like a pretty girl walk in, but I think it would add more emphasis if we kind of got that entering shot, because then it just shows, hey, he's bored at work, and then he sees this girl and he's like, oh my gosh, wow, she's beautiful, and she just walks in, and then kind of like I remember drawing like thumbnailing it out to you guys, like,
Mhm.
okay, I penciled it in saying, all right, well, obviously her model looks way better than what I drew. What I drew would look like freaking like she had like demon eyes just staring straight to your soul at first.
Oh,
Because
I
like,
yeah, I remember that. I was like, I saw that like one shot where she looked at the camera, and I was like, oh.
yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I think I was like, why did I draw it like that? But I guess at the time though, I guess I was trying to be like, all right, I'm thinking of close enough, but I'm also thinking of I guess I was thinking of like close enough, but I think I was looking at like some Legend of Zelda Wind Waker art in the middle of it, and I was like, oh, look at the little almond shape eye. Okay, cool. And then I look back at that drawing, I'm like, oh my gosh. I guess thankfully the idea came across, but oh
Mhm.
god, I'm so glad that drawing wasn't used. you know, or
Yeah.
Jock prettied it up a little bit to make it a little less scary looking.
Mhm. For
So,
sure.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I guess like my question would like, we got like, what you were excited about and what you learned. But like, did any like thing get reinforced or
Reinforced, if meaning,
like skills that got reinforced kind of thing?
I think definitely shot composition, and
Mm.
I think as an artist, um, I think how animation works and how illustration works are two different things. Because obviously, I mean, my background, I'm more of an illustrate. I come from more of an illustration background, but I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit unsure what to do when I first started on art. It wasn't until Rad's class I wanted to do story. Like once he showed me how storyboarding worked, I wanted to get into storyboarding, and obviously, it's been a a, a very interesting journey, and I think it reinforces that, man, I gotta learn to draw quicker, and man, I gotta learn to draw on model a lot, because it's one of those things where it's just in 2D animation, like there's a lot, like you have imperfections are always going to be there, and and imperfections always enhances the the experience, in my opinion, as opposed to like trying to be like every line's gotta look on model. If you want to do that, just do 3D. You know what I mean? But uh yeah, I think what the skills were reinforced was like, draftsman shift skills, perspective skills, like trying to get different angles, whether it be close-ups, medium shots. Like you have to kind of play the role as a camera and not so much as a role as an artist or like an illustrator, because that's the whole point. Once you start looking at yourself as, oh hey, like I take out my phone and record I don't know, a guy walking down the street, and what's the angle he's walking at, where it is then I then starts looking a lot more clear to me, as opposed to just like, it's like, oh, this is one illustrative piece that I just doing just to make a poster. So yeah.
Mhm. I find that too, like that's definitely a big thing is um it like with boarding, it's really about thinking about like the camera, thinking about yourself as a filmmaker, almost like you're filming in a world that is flat and you have to create depth in it.
Yes, that's absolutely true. Yeah, you have to definitely create depth within that world and that environment, and that's always a bit of a struggle as an artist. Is like, okay, well, what if I'm only just doing one type of shot, or oh, the tree looks out of perspective. Like with storyboarding, what I like about it now, or at least now that I'm like looking at other people's work, is that not everything needs to be pretty. And I'm not saying that in terms of like, oh, you can draw scribbles and someone can make out your chicken scratch. No, it's got to still be clear, but in the storyboarding phase, like the first pass, it can be a little loose, it can be a little bit um a little free flowing, so that way you get the feel of the movement, so when you go on and you put in those, pretty it up a bit, it looks a lot better.
Mhm.
So yeah.
For sure. All right. So the last thing is, what are your plans for the future? And this is the time, like, if you'd like to plug your social media or anything else, anything you want to say to the people, this is your time. This is the spotlight moment.
Oh man, the spotlight. Okay, I'm a little head scratching. I'm a little nervous. So, but I want to first say to you, Sharonos or Sean, thank you for allowing me to use my talent and utilize my skills, or build that skills and talent through your project. So I want to say thank you. I want to thank the
Thank you.
audience. Yeah, I'll
Sorry,
make
I mean,
it.
like, I gotta say, like, no, thank you, because like, it's your hard work in this project, and it's really like whatever you were able to put into it, like, it tremendously helped. So,
Yeah, no worries. And I want to thank everyone on the team, especially too. I want to thank Rez, Jacques, Suzette. I want to thank those people. Freaking absolutely amazing work from you guys. You can find me on Issa Long. Issa. It's gonna be spelled actually with a one.
yeah,
SA.
I'll put the link in the bio, but
Oh,
that's the
yeah.
Instagram, right?
Yes. Well, it's all of it. So I have it on Linktree, so that way you don't have to like list the alphabet soup worth of links. It's just right there. So um yeah, so like yeah, I have a link tree with Issa Long there.
Mhm.
And you can find me there. Currently in the process of doing some smaller projects. I do have two in the works, which actually I have talked to you, Sharon, us about, but I'm trying to kind of get some tools developed before I talk about them. And I'm currently taking on commissions and doing some illustrated fan work just to kind of make myself a little relevant, not trying to stay behind the curve or be like, oh, I post once and then now I'm done. So
Yeah,
you know how it is. It's the struggles of being a social media artist.
influencer. Yeah,
Yeah,
really.
influencer. Well, like I said, I'm not. I want like influencer, sure, but um, I I kind of want a nice audience, mixed audience. I want to make sure to focus on the art, and
Yeah,
yeah, and especially
it's.
since
Oh,
I'm not.
sorry.
Oh, you're fine. No, it's just I'm not really a guy that likes to kind of show off my personal face or anything like that. I'll like literally say, yeah, I really want to make people happy and smile. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great goal to have, and I respect you a lot for that. I mean,
Thanks, man. Like I said, you guys were great. I just want to say that right now. You guys, best team. Would want to work with you guys again, both on this like independent indie level and hopefully within the industry. You know, like you'll
oh,
be
that's
director.
the dream, right?
Yeah, there
That's the
you go, man. That's the
dream.
dream. You, Mr. Sean, the CEO of Netflix over here. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, over here. He's
let's
gonna
not
be.
let's knock on wood. I don't know. I don't want to jinx anything, but we'll see.
So
Netflix is good though. They have some good stuff.
yeah, no, definitely. And for someone like us who is pushing the diversity
Mhm.
angle too, which thankfully we're in that new culture of bringing more stories from all different walks of life coming in. I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of stories you produce, and I'm looking forward to developing my own personal stories as well and
Thank you.
my own ideas. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I look forward to talking to you again and working with you again. That would be great.
Yeah, thanks guys. I thank you. Thank you for having me on, and it's been an honor working with you guys. Seriously. And you
All
too,
right.
Sharon. Seriously.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.